I was 51 years old, and I threw myself into this company that happens to be right across the street, or right near here, called HubSpot, which makes marketing software. And this was me, basically, there, right? I never was aware of my age until I went to this place. At Newsweek, my boss, my immediate boss, was a woman a few years older than me. John Meacham is a guy like 10 years younger. At Forbes, I worked for an editor-in-chief who was in his 80s. I mean, just age had never really been anything I thought of as an issue at work. It certainly was never tied to competency, except in the sense that someone right out of college might be seen as, well, you know, you're learning, you're like an apprentice, and you're going to come up to speed. And someone really, really old, you might think, well, they're maybe not completely on the ball anymore. But in between, I never really thought of my age. And suddenly I was in a place where the average age was 26. Basically, everyone was right out of college. There were hardly anybody over 40. People in their 30s were called the grown-ups. They were like the senior people. They were the grown-ups, the adult supervision. There was one guy in the whole company that was older than me. He was like 60. And he found me on my first day, and he tracked me down. He's like, I heard they hired you. He's like, we got to be friends. Like, we got to hang out. Like, he was like shell-shocked, right? And so we became friends. We started going to lunch. We started hanging out all the time. We would go out and complain. We'd sit in this, right over here in the mall, we'd sit in this food court and eat, and he'd be bitching about working for these kids and getting bossed around by these kids. And then I realized all the kids from HubSpot were walking in, and they would see us together, and they'd be like, you know, now we're a couple, right? Like, we're always there, the two grumpy old guys, right? And I thought, like, dude, we got to break up. Like, we have to have a breakup because, you know, the only thing worse than being the old guy is being one of the two grumpy old guys, right? And I realized what we looked like to them was what I see when I go into Dunkin' Donuts in my town, and there's like 4 old guys with the VFW windbreakers on and the baseball caps, yeah, fucking Obama, like that. Like, that was me now. I was like the old guy grumping about these kids, like, they know everything, right? So I was like, dude, we can't do this anymore. Like, we broke up. We only met like off campus, like, I mean, out, away from work, like out in the suburbs on our work from home days, right? But it was really this crisis. It really caused this very dark crisis for me, all joking aside, especially because people also assumed that if you were 50, you were an idiot. You were an imbecile, like absolutely an imbecile. Like, are you on Facebook? Do you know how to use Twitter? I'd be like, dude, Twitter, it's not like rocket science, you know? Like, I went to college, I can figure it out, right? So I always ask this question, can anyone identify the man on the left? The guy on the right, you know, is the Six Flags guy. But the guy on the left, anybody? What? No, it's not Liv Schreiber. Kind of looks like him. That is a guy from a Viagra ad. And I'll tell you why that's funny, is that because, you know, Viagra, they started out, they had like Bob Dole, they had actually, honestly, you know, legitimately decrepit old guys, right? But now they've made them younger, right? Because they're trying to, you know, broaden the market. But I also realized how pathetic it is that, like, now, like, the best I could ever possibly be if I worked out and I kind of got a little beard and had some work done and lifted would be a guy with erectile dysfunction in a Viagra ad. That's like my goal, right? That's where I hope to be and can't quite reach, right? It's like the best version of me.